The runtimes keep getting shorter, and the ratings keep getting lower. If I walked in on this, I would think I was in the wrong theater. This one is a weird, weird movie. Home Alone is one of those Christmas movie series that is loved by many. In the early 90s, everyone fell in love with Macaulay Culkin, even if no one knew how to spell his name. Which is why in 1998, when they introduced a new kid, everyone hated him. What do you mean Macaulay Culkin isn't an immortal child? What do you mean he outgrew his role and now has a beautiful, adorable family with Brenda Song? So today I'm setting out to figure out one thing. Did the Home Alone movies actually get worse? Actually, before that, did you know that they made more than like 1 or 2? Or are we all just blinded by nostalgia? They made 2 with Macaulay Culkin and then 4 more with different kids. The most recent being 2021.
We need a W, Pam. A win?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, judging by how identical they made all the movie posters, it worries me that they're gonna try too hard to cash out on that Home Alone nostalgia and just completely fail and fall flat on its face. I feel like doing this sets up your movie for failure and harsh comparisons, even if the movie isn't that bad on its own. I'm gonna summarize the movies some, but don't worry, this isn't Snopes. We're gonna actually talk about the movies too. We've got a lot to cover, so let's jump in. Home Alone 1 is your classic vanilla Home Alone. Also, I'm kind of going for like that 90s mom vibe with the hair, so I just wanted that to be known, really. Kevin McAllister is one of the 14 kids or something of this rich family in Chicago. You don't need to know any of them except Kevin's brother Buzz.
Don't you know how to knock phlegm wad?
And they're all going to France for Christmas. Joe Pesci plays one of the villains here, and he's checking out all the houses in the neighborhood, pretending to be a cop checking on the homes, but he's really just looking for houses to rob while they're gone. And their parents are nowhere to be seen.
All kids, no parents. Probably a fancy orphanage.
Joe Pesci's perfect in this role. Also, off the bat, everyone is mean to Kevin.
The dope was whining about a suitcase. What am I supposed to do? Shake his hand and say, congratulations, you're an idiot?
I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
You're what the French call les incompetents.
And when he lashes out, he's the one who gets punished.
Look what you did, you little jerk!
He yells at his mom that everyone treats him so poorly and that he never wants to see any of them again, and his mom basically says, be careful what you wish for. There's a power outage overnight, so the alarm clocks never go off, so everyone's now late for the flight shuttles. The kid from across the street comes over to be annoying and messes up the head count, and they leave to France without Kevin. I love this scene where Kevin gets up and goes downstairs, it being particularly quiet, turning on and off the TV again to then be like,
Mom?
Kevin believes he made his family disappear and just does whatever he wants.
I made my family disappear.
And this stuff sets up what he's gonna use to mess with the burglars later. Like the BB gun and the Playboy magazine that he looks at and throws behind him.
No clothes on anybody. Sickening.
Marv and Harry, our main villains, try to break in because they think no one's home. Goofiness ensues, you know how it goes.
Why the hell did you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
Meanwhile, in France, Kevin's mom is trying to fly back home, and the rest of the family is in Paris, and one of the kids goes,
We're here rotting in this apartment. Rotting in this apartment. Rotting in this apartment.
This comment would have sparked discussions on Twitter and TikTok in 1990. They'd have you believing that the McAllister family actually deserved to get robbed in a 3-minute TikTok about how their family wealth is actually traced back to exploitation of the working class. But then I could make another TikTok about how Kevin's mom is actually a trad wife, but then someone stitches a reply explaining how the Home Alone novelization actually explains further that Kevin's mom actually has a job working as a fashion designer, which plays into the traditional Barbie-esque roles of the household. Because of course she has to still be the main participator in the mothering of the household. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, eventually, Kevin catches the bad guys, they go to jail. It's a fun movie. It's a good time. I don't have many complaints about this movie. It's not a bad one. I know this rating is going to spark discussions in the comments, but my personal rating for Home Alone 1 is going to be A tier. It's not the best Christmas movie in my opinion, I'm sorry, but it's still a good time. It's your classic one. You're guaranteed to be in for a good time. But if you're not, because it gets interesting. As I cozied up to watch Home Alone 2, I made some cookies, lit a candle, and slipped on something a little more comfortable. A different pair of Bombas socks, because I was already wearing some. This holiday season, surprise your loved ones, or even yourself, with premium, comfort-focused socks that actually last thanks to Bombas, the sponsor of today's Cozy Movie Marathon. These socks make me feel like someone is consensually hugging my feet in the most normal way that you can picture that. I love combining Bombas socks with Bombas slippers for level 10 comfort, and it feels extra good because one purchased equals one donated to someone experiencing homelessness. Bombas makes the top 3 requested clothing items in homeless shelters: socks, underwear, t-shirts, and they've already donated over 150 million of those items, and I love seeing that number go up. New customers, which could be you, get 20% off your first purchase using my link, bombas.com/Gabby, and use my code Gabby20 to get 20% off your first purchase. Thank you, Bombas, for sponsoring this video, and now back to Home Alone. Home Alone 2 is my favorite Home Alone and always was. Actually, Home Alone 2 is my favorite Christmas movie, like in general. I've seen this movie at least a dozen times. I try to watch it every year. And it really hits the same beats as Home Alone 1, but upping the antics. The story is more involved, and it really brings that sense of adventure that I always really liked. This time, the family's going to Florida for Christmas, and what gets everyone mad at Kevin this time is Buzz bullying him and gets eruptive laughter. Pack it up, Buzz. It's not that funny. So Kevin pushes down the entire children's choir, yada yada. He wishes he was going to someplace cool for Christmas, like New York. And then she says,
well, you got your wish last year. Maybe you'll get it again this year.
Kevin was cooking with this one again. He was not wrong. This is 2 for 2. Buzz was just being an asshole. Like, Kevin's a good kid that just gets picked on and no one believes him, which we can't say for some of the future movies in this franchise. Power goes out, alarm clock not work, everyone rush. This time they make sure Kevin's in the damn car. Kevin has his dad's bag to look for batteries for his audio recorder. They get lost, he follows the wrong dad. Once you learn that Home Alone 1 and 2 and the first 2 Harry Potter movies were directed by the same guy and all had music by John Williams, you start to see so many similarities in how it's shot and like the general vibe. Also, low-key, the first 2 Harry Potter movies were Christmas movies too. Chris Columbus can only make Christmas movies. He can't help it. Kevin gets on the wrong plane, he blasts his headphones, not hearing the destination, and boom, baby, we're in New York. Yeah! My family's in Florida, and I'm in New York? Kevin finds himself at the Palace Hotel, and look, there's my favorite convicted president. The hoteliers are on to Kevin, but they're fucking creeps. This dude immediately notices a child and hangs up the phone to target him. Like, I never thought so deeply about how fucking creepy that is. Overall, this movie's really fun. I find that a lot of the comedy hits better for me in this movie than it does in the first one.
Kevin's not here.
What?
And Kevin actually does a lot of the fun stuff a kid would do in this scenario.
2 scoops, sir?
2, make it 3. I'm not driving.
There's just more villains in this one too. The hoteliers are trying to catch him because eventually they find out that the credit card got marked as stolen that he used to check into the hotel. His parents at airport security tracked the credit card, logically. And then the wet bandits from the last movie escaped from jail and are now the sticky bandits, thinking they can score bigger in New York instead of just house robberies.
Smell that? Yeah. You know what that is?
Fish.
It's freedom.
Harry and Marv target this toy store to rob because they're gonna be carrying the most cash on Christmas Eve and won't deposit it until after Christmas. But Kevin's also at this toy store and find out they're actually donating all of the money from today to the children's to the children's hospital down the street. He gets these cute turtle doves for being a sweet kid and donating money to the children's hospital, and this is important for later.
And you give the other one to a very special person.
But now the stakes are higher because when they run into each other, now the sticky bandits want to kill Kevin because of all the trouble he caused him last time and got him in jail and stuff. Marv reveals their big plan to rob the toy store. Big chase scene ensues, and this is a great chase scene with all the villains.
You've committed credit card fraud.
If you really think about it, the hotel guys are probably just trying to catch him to return him to his parents. But the way the movie frames them is so creepy. Like this guy immediately laying eyes on him before even knowing anything.
And find out everything you can about that young fella.
To deal with the hotel guys, this iconic scene with the movie Fake Out plays out.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Kevin meets the don't judge a book by its cover character, which is the pigeon lady in Central Park. Oh yeah, last movie it was his next door neighbor who was, I call him the salt guy. He just looked kind of scary and misjudged him, and then they had a nice chat at church, and then Kevin got motivated to catch the villains. So in this one, the pigeon lady kind of fills that role. Kevin sees the children's hospital and decides he's gonna stop the sticky bandit. And this time, since he doesn't have a house, his uncle Rob has traveled for Christmas, and his place is under construction, and he only knows he lives there because he had his dad's phone book, and he booby traps that house and lures them there after triggering the toy store alarm and snapping a photo evidence of them. And of course we get all the wackiness. Some of these stunts are actually fucking insane. Like after hitting Marv in the face with 5 different breaks in a row, he gets electrocuted by Kevin in the most brutal way. He should have fucking died. Well, that's just part of the Home Alone universe. The pigeon lady, just like the salt guy, comes to save Kevin when it all seems over and the bandits get caught. Kevin reunites with his mom at the biggest Christmas tree in the city because his mom knew he would be there. Everyone spends Christmas in New York because Florida wasn't that fun anyway. Kevin gives his other turtle dove to his new friend in a really heartwarming end, and that's the movie. I just feel like Home Alone 2 took everything that was awesome about Home Alone 1 and then made it even better. I think they really expanded upon the characters, the cast. Even if it hit some similar jokes, I still thought they were really funny. Home Alone 1 was really heartwarming, but Home Alone 2 really upped the silly, and I really liked that. S tier, I'll be taking no questions. Now, we just watched the end of Home Alone 2 where Kevin's giving the other turtle dove to this lady, and it's really sweet. So, the dichotomy of opening Home Alone 3 and it opens on Hong Kong. What is going on, and how does this relate to some kid back in the States being home alone for Christmas? If I walked in on this, I would think I was in the wrong theater. So, China is doing some shady deals to get these advanced ass microchips from the US Air Force or something, and they're trying to smuggle it to America, I guess, in this RC car. Wrong. Upon rewatching, they went to California to get the microchip and they were trying to smuggle it back to Hong Kong, I guess. In my defense, they explain this in the first 2 minutes of the movie and then never talk about it again. And now you see what's gonna happen. The bags get switched at the airport, so now our main villains have to try to get it back from this kid. They couldn't find the swapped bag at the airport, so they somehow deduce that it's in Chicago because that's the next plane that's leaving, I guess. So we're going to Chicago. Now, this movie put Matrix villains in Home Alone. I don't know, when did the Matrix come out? 1999? Oh, this came out 1 year before the Matrix came out. Did they know? They somehow find the street they live on from asking a random old guy and decide to break into every house on the street to find the toy car. Alex is our new kid this time and has the chicken pox. He's also barely home alone. He's like home alone for 6 hours a day during business hours only. But he keeps calling the police because he sees the bad guys breaking into his neighbors' houses, but they keep leaving before the cops get there. So he's gotta catch them himself. He figures out the pattern of where they're gonna break in next, so he tapes a video recorder to the top of the RC car to catch them in the act. Them chasing just the toy car goes on for a very long time. I paused after a while to take a break from the movie to go play Minecraft, and I realized I wasn't even halfway through the movie. So if you were a kid that really liked RC cars, this movie is awesome for you. So we're supposed to believe that this fetus with chickenpox goes against 4 Matrix villains that have gadgets and know how to do backflips. And at the end of the movie, when they get caught, the FBI even says that they've been trying to catch this guy for 7 years. But he's so good, he keeps slipping away.
7 years they've been after this guy.
Either the government is seriously inefficient, or this kid is smarter. Either way, the It's the former. I think what takes me out of this movie in particular is just that. The other scenarios in Home Alone were somewhat realistic. Sure, the stunts are absolutely ridiculous, but the scenarios make sense. I think where Home Alone 1 and 2 were made for kids and adults to enjoy, Home Alone 3 felt like it was just mostly made for kids, if that makes sense, which doesn't make it inherently bad. That's just the vibe I got. The magic of Home Alone 1 and 2 were that it was a kid's dream to be home alone when their parents were annoying them, or in New York for Christmas with infinite money, and then beating up stupid villains who want to break into your house in particular, or steal from a children's store / children's hospital. The motivation made sense. Even the villains with the kid had on-screen chemistry. No one is envying a kid with chicken pox protecting a US government microchip being talked down to condescendingly by the cops. Like, what even is this? Why didn't Alex just break the chip? You bend any of those pins and it's unusable. It's immediately useless to the villains. They have no reason to go chase you now. Also, there's absolutely no reason for these dudes to be creeping around the neighborhood in various disguises if they're just gonna break into the houses. Also, where are they even from? There's one American woman, an American dude, some scary guy with an accent, and another guy, I think. They're all just kind of forgettable characters that are written to be more stoic like Matrix bad guys, and that sets up some funny comedy in contrast to their personalities, but it just doesn't hit for me. We get to know Marv and Harry's personalities as kind of these scuffed up, failed villains who are just bad at their jobs, like they're pretty low-level burglars. It's at least more believable in this universe than 4 villains who are working with North Korean terrorists. Yep, that's right. When the FBI finally gets a call from Alex, who found the microchip in the toy car and called the Chicago division of the US Air Force, the FBI shows up at their school and explains that Alex is in danger, right now, and instead of hurrying to go, Scarlett Johansson, Scarlett Johansson's here, she plays the sister, shuts the door on them and forces them to explain in more detail what's going on. This isn't an urgent situation. And that's when he explains that these guys are working with North Korean terrorists.
Top secret electronic device stolen from a Defense Department contractor by a group of international criminals working for a North Korean terrorist organization.
So why were they doing a deal in Hong Kong, China? Who are these guys? Where are they from? What are their ethnicities? Why are they working? Why? What is going on? Overall, Home Alone, but he struggles to actually be home alone, is still a fun movie. It's still enjoyable, and the physical comedy is still banging. You get the typical electrocution scenes, the goop in the paint can scenes, and there's this one scene where the guy pulls down a dummy doll, and it triggers a snowblower to come tumbling down on him, further continuing the trend of stunts that should have brutally mutilated someone, but instead he got a nice haircut. This should have fucking killed him, holy shit. There's a rat that climbs up in his pants. A little flat, but nice. Alex throwing away the real gun is pretty funny. I don't know why, but so far they're obsessed with giving these kids fake guns. But then there are scenes that don't really make sense here, like when Alex lures them out of the house with the chip.
Recognize this?
Get the new iPhone 16 Pro on us.
These guys jump off the roof into a trampoline that's been placed over a frozen pool. And these guys literally stay in the pool for the rest of the movie. They don't even try to get out. Well, I guess we're just here now. And then this lady sits in the laundry chute without looking and falls down. Who does that? Also, they could have all just taken the stairs. Also, who doesn't look before they sit down? Overall, the story I thought was a bit weak, but if you just let it take you away, it's pretty fun. We do get the satisfaction of everyone knowing that Alex caught the bad guys that we actually don't get in the first 2 movies. Despite my criticisms, I'm giving this one a strong B. Sorry, I had to light a candle because it's about to get pretty stinky. The runtimes keep getting shorter, and the ratings keep getting lower. Home Alone 4 is 1 hour and 24 minutes long. It's like a TV special. I'd seen the first 3 as a kid, and this one didn't even come out that much later. I was very much still a kid in 2002. But from here on, I haven't seen these Home Alones before. I'm sure a lot of you didn't even know they made this many more. This one is a weird movie. The entire family is named after the original family. We have Kevin, Buzz, Kate, and Peter McAllister, and Megan? So I go throughout the entire movie wondering if this is the same universe, or if it's supposed to be the same family with different actors. So in this universe, Kevin's parents are divorced, and Kevin's dad says to his mom that as soon as the divorce papers are finalized, he's gonna marry this other girl. And it's been like 8 months total since they decided to get divorced.
Well, when our divorce is final, I'm gonna marry her.
And then immediately after that asks to take the kids for Christmas.
You want the kids for Christmas?
Just a couple of days.
To go spend Christmas at his new girlfriend's house. And the next day he calls her to check up on her and she's freaking sobbing, and he has the nerve to ask,
You okay?
No, you fucking idiot. She's not okay. Yeah, she's not okay. Like, my name is Gerard Way. Got black eyeliner running down my face. My name's Kevin in this universe, it is not a phase. Wait. My name's Kevin in this multiverse, I'm in a new phase. Bars. All the kids say no to spending Christmas with Dad, until Buzz bullies the fuck out of Kevin in a not funny way. Like, this shit is just brutally mean. So Kevin yells at his mom that he wishes he was an only child in a scene that feels really forced. I'm not giving this movie any grace with the comparisons because they're literally asking for it by naming the entire family the same. And I'm realizing throughout the movie, I think they're trying to play this off as the same family. But in this scene equivalent in Home Alone 1, Kevin feels like he's being ganged up on by his family, and then he lashes out, when it's not actually his fault. Here, it just feels forced for motivation.
I hate Buzz and I never want to be stuck home alone with him as long as I live.
So Kevin gets sent up to his room and decides he's gonna go be an only child at his dad's and new girlfriend's. His dad's new girlfriend is extremely rich, and it was at this scene that I noticed that the acting was poor.
On the verge of signing 2 of the biggest clients in Chicago.
That's because you're the best publicist in the world. Doors closed.
Have I remembered to thank you for telling everyone that?
Okay, so here's where I really started losing my mind. They introduce Marv from Home Alone 1 and 2, but this time with his new girlfriend instead of Harry. And they know that they're gonna host the royal family here for Christmas at their house, and their plan is to kidnap the prince for ransom. So when Marv and his girlfriend break in to scope the place out, they see Kevin and they recognize each other. Because this is supposed to be the same universe?
You! Hello, Marv.
Back to the acting, they tried way too hard to mimic the performances of Kevin and Marv and stuff from the original movie, including the writing of Kevin. And it just doesn't deliver the same because this isn't the same kid.
I'm 8 years old. You think I would be here alone? I don't think so. I'm 9 years old. Watch a lot of TV.
That script and that dialogue worked really well for Macaulay Culkin. It worked well for him. It doesn't work here. And Marv pisses me off with this. He's like clearly trying to copy the same mannerisms.
Shut up, you little moron! I'm gonna kill him.
Kevin blasts Marv with the shower and causes severe water damage to the house and keeps messing things up, but they set up the girlfriend as the villain because she's mad that Kevin keeps destroying her property. But she's all like, I'll make sure you never see your dad again if you keep messing things up.
He wants you in his life, and I think that's admirable. But if you want him in your life, you better not cross me.
And the dad is convinced that Kevin is set out to ruin his new relationship. And his mom is sobbing at home. Dude, this movie's depressing as f***. Then we're starkly reminded that the year is 2002. We have the butler and the maid here, and Kevin hasn't been home alone the entire movie. Actually, now that I think about it, he wasn't really home alone in the second one, was he? He was in New York. But at least he was alone. We're 4 movies deep into the franchise, and in most of them, he's not even home alone. The twist is that the maid is the inside man and is Marv's mom.
Hey, Mom.
And they were co-conspiring to kidnap the prince together, and that's how they had the inside information and blah, blah, blah. And Kevin was misjudging the butler, who was supposed to be the don't judge me by their book cover character. The physical comedy of the house booby traps were extremely weak. He barely does anything but play with the house remote. It's like a smart house. The butler saves Kevin in the end, just like the salt guy and the pigeon lady. They catch the bad guys, everyone gets arrested.
We're gonna kidnap the prince.
The butler quits because he hated his job.
I resign.
resign.
Kevin's dad decides that he wants to be back with his family.
And the whole time I was here, all I did was miss my family.
And the royal family gets there and says they want to spend Christmas with the McAllisters instead.
Would your family like to spend Christmas with our family? That sounds cool.
It's so random.
That sounds cool.
So the new girlfriend loses literally everything just because she's like a little greedy and kinda unlikable and didn't care for Kevin as much as his own parents did. So all the villains were extremely weak. The character growth throughout the story felt unnatural and they changed within a snap second. Like there were no hints or threads leading up to any changes and was just super depressing in a not heartwarming way. I mean, this makes sense. D tier. Home Alone 5, Home Alone, The Holiday Heist. 10-year gap, 2012. At this point, I was preparing to be a hater. I mean, we've been on a downward trajectory. And at first, this movie was kind of doing that thing where they're like, oh, kids and their video games. But they kind of won me over as it went along. I mean, this did score 1 point higher than the last movie on IMDb. So, no weird universe stuff here. This kid's name is Finn, and they're moving into a house that everyone finds super creepy except the parents and me. Even the villains think this house is creepy.
A creepy old house?
You just showed me a $2 million property and you're trying to convince me that it's old and decrepit and haunted.
Is this house haunted? Your house is haunted. That's why the last people moved out.
So the villains in this one think that this house has a rare painting that was stolen from a museum, and the main bad guy wants it back because it's actually a family heirloom, and that's his family in the painting. They were gonna steal it before anyone moves in, but obviously they're too late and decide to wait until no one's home to strike. The video game kid tropes in this start to feel like what someone's mom thinks playing video games is like.
I was about to demolish Captain Overkill's armor base.
Well, I'm sure they can be demolished tomorrow now.
Post grenades! How does he always do that?
Okay, off.
But overall, the acting is much better, the story is much better and actually makes sense. The villains have personalities and are a bit more memorable. The movie takes time to show the villains interacting with each other, which makes this universe feel more real and less random like North Korean, Chinese, American terrorists. Finn is scared because he thinks that there's ghosts in the house because everyone's telling him the house is haunted. So he's unknowingly setting traps for the burglars. Finn's parents go to a work Christmas party and leave the kids at home because everyone was fighting, and she takes his controller away so he can't play video games while they're gone. And he does a bunch of stuff that doesn't involve gaming, but then eventually sits back down to play games.
This time, you're going down.
They acted like this was the only controller in the house, but like he just had another one. I'm so confused. There are a few things in this movie that are a little whack like that, like this scene, the effects on this scene where the burglars break into the garage is so crazy. But Finn's getting new batteries for his controller, and one of them rolls under the door into the scary basement. He convinces his sister to help him get it. He shows her the secret door he found, and then they find the secret room where the painting is. She scares the shit out of him, he runs out, and then she accidentally gets herself trapped in the vault. So he's actually home alone with his sister, which I'm going to count as actually being home alone. Congrats. There's this subplot with this college kid he plays games with online that I actually really like. All the characters in this one are kooky and silly, and this made me realize that Home Alone doesn't have to be realistic. It's a kid's movie, but it just has to make sense and be believable. The kid that lives across the street from them is actually the goat, and they have some funny scenes together.
I can't right now. My sister is trapped in the basement, and I have to buy supplies to break her out. Oh, cool. See you later. I can't right now. A team of art thieves are planning an assault on my new house, and I'm the only one who can defend it. Oh, cool. See you later.
Finn goes to the store and realizes that the noises and shadows he's been hearing and seeing aren't actually ghosts. It was these burglars checking out the house. Also, all he can afford is string to help get his sister out of the vault, so he had to get creative with the physical comedy antics, which there wasn't a ton of, but I don't think it really needed a super long physical comedy sequence because they spent the runtime on other plot lines and showing other things, like the college kid getting swatted because of a misunderstanding. This scene is insane.
On your feet! On your feet! Where are the kids? Where are the kids?
got it all wrong. I just play video games.
I think the biggest thing this movie suffered from was being in the Home Alone franchise. I think if they did a different movie poster and just called it The Holiday Heist or something, it could have garnered a better score from people. But anything being compared to such a beloved film is just going to get ripped apart. I thought a good amount of the jokes surprisingly landed for me. The storylines weaved in nicely, it made sense. Of course, the bad guys get caught in the end, and Finn makes friends and is less afraid of everything.
But an active imagination is actually pretty useful when you're not using it to scare yourself.
I actually enjoyed this one more than I thought I would. I don't know if it's just because I watched Home Alone 4 right before this, but I think this is a fun, unserious movie to put on for the holidays. I think you should watch it, maybe. I don't know. Solid B tier. It's all been leading up to this. Home Alone 6, or should I say, Home Sweet Home Alone. Let me just be upfront here and say that every character in this movie was unlikable. The kid is a little shit. They wrote him to be extremely rude to people from the start for no reason.
Cool dolls.
They're not mine. They belonged to my mother.
Sure they did.
Also, he's British, which doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with that, of course, but it was pretty shocking at the time. I think I was so used to seeing American families that this really threw me for a loop. I wrote it down in my notes. He meets the main villains at their open house, and he is so rude to them, but Jeff is super unlikable back at him.
No McDonald's for you on the way home.
You can't promise a kid McDonald's and not deliver.
Ooh. What a McShane.
Oh, brother, this guy's...
Just to explain how much I don't like this kid, there's a scene where the kid's mad that he can't take the free toys at church because they're donations for less fortunate kids who don't live in a mansion.
These toys are for children less fortunate than you.
Ah, okay. Well, it was too good to be true.
Oh, brother.
Aaron from The Office is here, and these two are trying to sell their house while trying to hide it from their kids. Awful thing to do. I hate them also. I like her as an actor, and she was one of the small silver linings in this movie, but the writing was so bad she couldn't even save it. Also, I'll be dubbing over this guy's name because I kept calling him the dad because he is a dad in this movie, but he's not the dad of the main protagonist, so it's confusing, so I'm just dubbing over him Jeff. So they become villains because they can't afford to keep their house because Jeff lost their job as a migration manager. Like for databases. And hearing him talk about computer stuff in this movie is so cringe. Like they just didn't have to go into it like this if they didn't know what was going on.
Well, any company with a brain needs a good data migration manager, okay? I mean, I wouldn't trust an algorithm to port over a MySQL database to a new server without any human oversight.
He literally hates the cloud.
It's the cloud.
And wants everything to be local storage or something.
You're not even using solid state storage on site?
I don't know what that means.
Well, I'll tell you what it means. What it means is you're entirely at the whim of a hosted service provider for virtualization and backup.
Sir, I'm not a woman in tech.
I don't know why they even went this deep into it in the first place. So they're supposed to be the villains, but you feel bad for them and hate the kid. And it's also really confusing because it's kind of set from the villain's perspective. Jeff finds out that one of the dolls from the first scene is worth like 200 grand because someone mentioned it at the open house.
Wow, $5,000 for an ugly little porcelain kid. I didn't get half that for selling my real kids.
Oh, bro.
And he opens the box to find that the doll is gone. And guess who must have took it? This kid. You know how the rest goes, but the jokes in this movie are so painfully bad, I had enough material to make a short compilation.
I just stepped on a Lego. It's the most painful thing in the world.
10-year-old son is at home by himself.
Yeah, but first world problems, you know.
First world.
We need a W, Pam. Our family's W is in that house.
Yes, Stu, nobody has a landline anymore because it's not 1993. What's your next idea? Should I beep him after I listen to the new MC Hammer joint?
I'm sorry.
All right, Internet. Show me your worst.
Well played, Mum and Dad.
Although one thing that got me is the idea that if you're a British family, you have a photo of your family posing on Abbey Road. But they even do that thing where they make a self-aware nod to the original movie with that movie Kevin watches in it. But they literally made an alien version of that movie for this Home Alone and then says,
To get your ugly, yellow, no good keister.
Oh, this is garbage. I don't know why they were always trying to remake the classics. Never as good as the originals.
No. No. Also, in the Home Alone multiverse, we're set back in the original Home Alone universe. This is supposed to be the same universe. The first time they try to break in, also his parents left him home alone by accident on the way to Japan, it doesn't matter, but the first time they try to break in, Max the kid overhears them talking and thinks that they're going to kidnap him and sell him for money.
All we have to do is find that ugly little boy, and then some crazy old lady will pay us $200,000 for him.
So he calls the cops, and guess who it is?
Evening.
Not Kevin. This gave me a fucking heart attack when I watched it at first. I was like, you're telling me Kevin went through all that just to become a cop? A weird cop, too.
I'm sure you never forget your anniversary, do you?
No ring on this finger, ma'am. No one's been able to tame this wild stallion.
But this is Buzz.
Don't you know how to knock phlegm wad?
A cameo from the original actor, but they wrote him in to be a loser cop and insinuates that Kevin grew up and got in the business of making home alarm systems.
Guess what? The place had a McAllister home alarm system. Oh, gee. The coincidence?
By the end of the movie, you completely forget about him, though. The physical comedy bits are the worst yet. So uncreative, so unimaginative, and they only used the most reused tropes. Icy driveway, spicy cookies, but they added Mentos and soda. Never would have thought of that. Max ices the road, which is super dangerous for literally anyone else that has to drive in this neighborhood. After sliding down the driveway, why don't they just walk up the snow instead? Her feet catch on fire, and instead of just stepping in the snow all around her, she tries to go for the faucet. Also, watching a pin go into a finger is so hard to watch. More than Marv getting electrocuted to skeletal remains. Max puts a VR headset on the Jeff at one point, and we're supposed to believe he doesn't feel it on his head. He thinks this is real. Those things are heavy. I think you would notice it on your head. Like, the physical comedy is just like, this is so stupid. Though I guess you could make the same argument for that guy in Home Alone 3 that couldn't feel the massive weight difference between a real and toy gun. Also, when you found out he was home, why didn't you just knock on the door to ask him? Or like, leave a note for when the family got back? After a bunch of torture, they're just begging him to just talk to them, and he keeps bullying them. It was one of those movies where they had so many opportunities to just talk and explain things, and they didn't, and it's infuriating to watch. Eventually, they figure out that everything was just a huge misunderstanding, and Max doesn't even have the doll.
I'm 10 years old. Why on earth would I want a doll?
So everything we just watched was completely pointless. I hate these characters. So who has the doll? Some random toddler who's the son of the side characters. It's like their aunt and uncle or something. And he throws the doll, Max catches it and saves Christmas for them. This was the only movie I really wanted to turn off. Like at the beginning, before Max yelps that he wishes to be home alone, the house is absolutely chaotic and not in a funny way. It was genuinely stressful to watch. I don't know if that's some trauma coming out, but this gave me so much anxiety, I almost wanted to cry. I was so close to turning it off.
Mom! Max, please! You are not the only person in this house!
F tier, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. So, did Home Alone movies just get worse? We knew it would. Did you really think it was gonna be a surprise? An upset that Home Alone 4 was actually the best one? Also, I don't know why they were obsessed with casting the same genre of kid every single time. It's not gonna work. Stop trying to make it work. Cast a different kid. So, This is the finished tier list. What have we learned? Adapting beloved movies into more movies that aren't very good maybe isn't a good strategy, or is it? Maybe they all made a profit. I don't know. I don't know if it's lucrative for them to do this. I think they should stop. Anyway, I love Home Alone 2. Let's end it on a high note. I think you guys should all watch Home Alone 2, and then 1, and then maybe the 5th one. Give the 5th one a chance. Give the Holiday Heist one a chance. Also, my new song is out. It's called Brigadeiro. It's the Bing Bong song that you've been hearing a lot of. You can go listen to it. There's a link in the description. I'm Gabby Belle on Spotify, and I'm Gabby Belle here also. You should subscribe if you haven't already. Oops.